Beloved, if there is one lesson life teaches us repeatedly, it is this: the greatest battles are often fought not in distant lands, but within our own selves. The tongue, the emotions, the thoughts, and the treasures we hold, all these, if left unchecked, can lead us astray. Let us turn our hearts to these truths and walk in the wisdom that brings life and peace. A disciplined tongue requires self-awareness. Many speak without pausing to consider the impact of their words. They respond impulsively, reacting to emotions rather than reasoning. To guard your words is to exercise restraint, to pause before speaking, and to weigh the consequences of what you are about to say. This practice transforms conversations into opportunities for growth, rather than sources of conflict. Furthermore, discipline in speech reflects maturity. A mature heart understands that not every thought needs to be expressed, and not every emotion needs to find a voice. Restraining impulsive speech demonstrates wisdom, for it is not what is spoken in haste, but what is spoken in wisdom that endures. Let your words be few but meaningful, and let them serve a purpose greater than yourself. A guarded tongue is also an instrument of peace. How often has a harsh word turned a friend into a foe, or an argument escalated because of prideful speech? By choosing words carefully, we disarm hostility and foster understanding. A gentle answer turns away wrath, while wise words can transform even the most contentious of situations. To discipline your speech is to become an ambassador of peace, seeking unity over division. Discipline in speech also requires humility. It acknowledges that we do not know everything, and it resists the urge to speak out of arrogance or self-importance. The disciplined speaker listens more than they speak, values others' perspectives, and speaks only when it adds value to the conversation. It is better to remain silent and be thought wise than to speak and reveal ignorance. Moreover, disciplined speech honors God. When our words are guided by truth and love, they reflect the character of our Creator. Harsh, deceitful, or careless speech grieves the Spirit, while words spoken in kindness and truth glorify Him. Let your words be a testament to your faith, pointing others toward the goodness of God. The ability to guard your words also protects relationships. Many friendships and partnerships have been ruined by a single careless remark. On the other hand, relationships thrive when words are used to affirm, encourage, and express gratitude. Discipline in speech helps you to navigate sensitive situations with tact and to build bonds of trust that withstand the test of time. This discipline also guards your own heart. Speaking impulsively often leads to regret, guilt, and unnecessary complications. But when you master your tongue, you spare yourself the burden of trying to undo the damage of thoughtless speech. A controlled tongue is a source of inner peace, freeing you from the turmoil that unrestrained speech often brings. To guard your words is to practice kindness. The world is already filled with enough harshness and criticism. Let your speech be a source of light and hope. Words of affirmation, encouragement, and compassion are gifts that cost you nothing but mean everything to those who receive them. Be intentional in speaking life into others, and watch as it transforms not only their hearts but your own. Finally, disciplined speech shapes your character. As you train your tongue, you also train your mind and heart. You develop patience, empathy, and self-control, virtues that enrich every area of life. To guard your words is not merely about restraining what you say, but about becoming the kind of person who naturally speaks with wisdom, grace, and love. Let us strive daily to master our speech, for in doing so we master ourselves. Emotional mastery begins with the recognition that emotions, while natural, should not govern our actions. Feelings often arise spontaneously and are influenced by circumstances, but they are not reliable guides for behavior. Remaining calm in challenging situations requires a deliberate choice to rise above immediate emotional impulses. Mastering emotions does not mean suppressing them, but managing them wisely, allowing reason and principle to guide responses rather than fleeting passions. Calmness in the face of adversity is a mark of strength, not weakness. Many view anger or outbursts as displays of power, but true power lies in self-control. A person who can remain composed under pressure exudes confidence and stability, gaining the respect of others. It is easy to react in anger or frustration, but it takes wisdom and discipline to respond with patience and understanding. One of the keys to emotional mastery is self-awareness. When we recognize the triggers that provoke us, we gain the ability to prepare and respond intentionally rather than react impulsively. Awareness of one's emotional tendencies allows for proactive strategies to remain composed, such as taking deep breaths, stepping away, or reflecting before speaking. This mindfulness creates space between the stimulus and the response, empowering us to act thoughtfully. Remaining composed also protects relationships. Destructive reactions in moments of anger or hurt often lead to words or actions that cannot be undone. A single outburst can damage trust, wound deeply, or escalate conflicts unnecessarily. Emotional mastery ensures that even in the heat of disagreement, responses are measured and constructive, prioritizing resolution over retaliation. Calmness in challenging situations sets an example for others. When you remain steady amidst turmoil, you inspire those around you to do the same. Leadership often requires emotional mastery as people look to calm individuals for guidance during uncertain or stressful times. By demonstrating composure, you create an atmosphere of stability and reassurance, enabling others to navigate difficulties with courage and clarity. Faith plays a critical role in mastering emotions. Trusting in God's sovereignty brings peace that transcends circumstances, allowing you to remain calm, even when situations seem out of control. When you anchor yourself in the promises of God, you are less likely to be shaken by external pressures. Emotional mastery is not merely an act of willpower, but a reliance on divine strength to remain steady in the storms of life. Practicing emotional mastery cultivates inner peace. By refusing to give in to destructive reactions, you shield yourself from the turmoil and regret that often follow impulsive behavior. Instead, you create an inner sanctuary where wisdom and discernment thrive. This peace not only benefits you, but also influences the environment around you, bringing harmony to your interactions and decisions. Mastering emotions requires humility and patience. Pride often fuels destructive reactions as we feel the need to defend ourselves or assert control. Humility allows us to step back, listen, and consider the bigger picture rather than reacting out of wounded pride. Patience, too, enables us to endure provocations or difficulties without lashing out, trusting that time and grace will bring resolution. Resilience is another fruit of emotional mastery. When you refuse to let emotions dictate your actions, you become less vulnerable to external circumstances. Challenges, setbacks, and provocations lose their power to destabilize you as your inner strength remains intact. This resilience enables you to navigate life's difficulties with confidence, knowing that your composure cannot be easily shaken. Finally, emotional mastery reflects spiritual maturity. It shows that you have grown beyond the need for immediate gratification or validation, choosing instead to align your responses with higher principles. A calm and composed spirit bears witness to the transforming work of God within you, demonstrating the fruits of self-control, patience, and peace. In mastering emotions, you not only elevate your own character, but also glorify the one who sustains you in all circumstances. Clarity of thought begins with the discipline of the mind. A mind left to wander is easily clouded by distractions, fears, and doubts. To achieve clarity, one must focus intentionally on what is true and meaningful. This requires effort, for the human mind naturally gravitates toward the trivial and fleeting. By disciplining your thoughts, you allow your mind to align with truth and purpose, enabling clear decisions and steadfast direction. A focused mind cuts through the noise of life. In a world filled with competing voices and constant demands for attention, clarity becomes a precious gift. The disciplined thinker filters out what is irrelevant or harmful, giving priority to ideas and goals that align with their higher purpose. This focus enables them to remain steady even when life feels chaotic, for they are not swayed by every distraction that comes their way. Truth is the foundation of clarity. When the mind is anchored in truth, it is not easily deceived or led astray. A disciplined mind seeks wisdom, questions assumptions, and aligns itself with principles that endure. Truth acts as a compass, guiding thoughts and actions toward what is good, just, and purposeful. Without truth, clarity is fleeting, and the mind becomes a victim of confusion and instability. Purpose gives clarity its direction. A mind without purpose is like a ship without a rudder, drifting aimlessly wherever the currents take it. But when the mind is fixed on a clear purpose, it gains strength and resilience. Challenges that might otherwise overwhelm are seen as steps on the journey, and distractions lose their power. Purpose focuses the mind, allowing it to channel energy into what truly matters. Clarity of thought also requires humility. The disciplined mind recognizes its limitations and is open to learning and correction. Pride clouds judgment and leads to error, but humility invites wisdom and understanding. A clear mind does not assume it knows everything. Rather, it seeks to grow in knowledge and discernment, relying on divine guidance and sound counsel. A well-disciplined mind guards against negativity. Thoughts of fear, doubt, and self-condemnation can quickly cloud clarity, leading to paralysis and despair. By focusing on truth and purpose, the disciplined thinker counters negativity with faith and confidence. They do not dwell on what they cannot control, but focus on what they can, trusting that clarity will guide them through uncertainty. Discipline in thought requires consistency. Clarity is not achieved through occasional moments of focus, but through a daily commitment to align with truth and purpose. This may involve practices like prayer, meditation, or reflection, which center the mind and remind it of its higher calling. Over time, these habits create a mental discipline that fosters clarity even in the most challenging circumstances. A clear mind fosters better relationships. When thoughts are undistracted and focused, communication becomes more thoughtful and intentional. You listen more deeply, speak more wisely, and approach conflicts with a calm and reasoned perspective. Clarity in thought enables you to connect with others in meaningful ways, building trust and understanding. Clarity also enhances productivity. A mind free from distractions is able to prioritize effectively, concentrate deeply, and accomplish tasks with excellence. This focus prevents the wasted energy of multitasking or second-guessing, allowing you to make steady progress toward your goals. Clarity in thought translates to clarity in action, creating a sense of purpose and fulfillment. Finally, clarity of thought reflects spiritual alignment. A mind disciplined in truth and purpose is a mind attuned to God's will. It seeks not only personal success, but alignment with divine principles, striving to glorify God in all things. This spiritual clarity brings peace and confidence, for it is rooted not in fleeting circumstances, but in eternal truth. Such a mind becomes a beacon of light, illuminating the path for others and fulfilling its God-given purpose. Wisdom in financial stewardship begins with the understanding that all resources ultimately belong to God. Money is not merely a means for personal gain, but a tool entrusted to us to be used responsibly and for His glory. This perspective shifts how we view wealth, emphasizing stewardship over ownership. Recognizing that we are caretakers of what God has provided leads to a mindset of gratitude and responsibility. Greed, on the other hand, is a snare that leads to destruction. The pursuit of wealth for its own sake blinds individuals to the needs of others and the call to generosity. Wisdom teaches that money is a servant, not a master. When greed takes hold, it distorts priorities, causing people to sacrifice relationships, integrity, and spiritual growth in the pursuit of material gain. Generosity is a vital aspect of financial stewardship. Wise stewards recognize that their resources are not solely for personal use, but are meant to bless others. Giving to those in need, supporting ministries, and contributing to causes that reflect God's heart demonstrate trust in His provision. Generosity also cultivates humility and joy, reminding us that our security lies in God, not in material wealth. Debt is another area where financial wisdom is essential. While some forms of debt, such as a mortgage or investment loan, may be necessary, living beyond one's means through excessive borrowing leads to bondage. Wise stewards are cautious about taking on debt, ensuring that it is manageable and serves a constructive purpose. They prioritize paying off obligations promptly to maintain financial freedom and integrity. Saving is a critical component of financial prudence. Setting aside a portion of income for future needs, emergencies, or opportunities demonstrates foresight and discipline. Wise stewards avoid the trap of consuming everything they earn, instead embracing the principle of delayed gratification. A well-maintained savings plan provides security and peace of mind, allowing for generosity and flexibility in times of need. Investing wisely is another mark of financial stewardship. Rather than seeking quick and risky gains, prudent stewards consider the long-term impact of their investments. They research, seek advice, and make decisions based on sound principles. Wise investments not only grow wealth but also align with ethical and spiritual values, reflecting stewardship that honors God. Financial wisdom also involves teaching and modeling good stewardship for others. Parents, for example, have the responsibility to instill these principles in their children, helping them understand the value of hard work, saving, and generosity. By living as examples of financial prudence, we inspire others to manage their resources wisely and to view money as a tool for serving God and others. Trust in God is the ultimate anchor of financial wisdom. While careful planning and discipline are essential, we must always remember that our security lies not in our bank accounts but in God's faithfulness. Worry over finances fades when we trust that He will provide for our needs according to His riches and glory. This trust allows us to manage money with confidence and peace, free from anxiety and fear. In conclusion, financial stewardship is not merely about accumulating wealth but about using it in ways that reflect God's character and purpose. Handling money with prudence, avoiding waste and greed, and embracing generosity, contentment, and trust all demonstrate wisdom. Such stewardship transforms our relationship with money, making it a tool for blessing, growth, and glorifying God in all we do. Patience in conflict begins with the understanding that anger is rarely a productive response. While anger may feel justified, it often clouds judgment and leads to hasty words or actions that deepen the conflict. Patience, on the other hand, allows space for reflection and discernment. It creates a pause where wisdom can prevail over impulse, fostering a spirit of peace instead of escalation. Choosing peace in conflict requires humility. A proud heart seeks to dominate and prove its point, but humility prioritizes reconciliation over being right. Patience flows from this humility as it recognizes that relationships are more valuable than winning arguments. This perspective transforms how we engage in disagreements, focusing on resolution rather than conquest. Understanding is the fruit of patience. When emotions run high, it is easy to misunderstand others' intentions or words. Patience allows us to listen deeply and consider the other person's perspective. By seeking to understand rather than to accuse, we open the door to empathy and compassion, which can diffuse even the most heated conflicts. Retaliation is the natural response of the flesh, but patience chooses a higher path. Retaliation perpetuates the cycle of hurt, leading to more pain and division. Patience, however, breaks the cycle by responding to offense with grace. It reflects the love of God, who is patient with us even when we fall short, and calls us to extend the same grace to others. Patience in conflict is not passivity, but strength under control. It takes great inner strength to remain calm and composed when provoked. This strength is not self-generated, but flows from a deep trust in God's sovereignty. By trusting that God is in control, we can let go of the need to assert our will or demand immediate resolution, resting in His perfect timing. A patient heart values peace over pride. Pride drives us to defend ourselves at all costs, often escalating the conflict. Patience, however, prioritizes harmony and seeks to de-escalate tensions. It recognizes that peace is not a sign of weakness but of wisdom and maturity. The patient response often disarms hostility, paving the way for reconciliation. Patience in conflict protects us from regret. Words spoken in anger or haste can cause lasting damage, leaving scars that are difficult to heal. By exercising patience, we guard against saying or doing things we will later regret. This restraint preserves the integrity of our relationships and allows us to address the conflict with clarity and purpose. Patience reflects the character of Christ. Throughout his earthly ministry, Jesus demonstrated patience in the face of misunderstanding, accusation, and betrayal. He responded to conflict with love and wisdom, showing us the way to navigate disagreements with grace. By following his example, we not only honor him but also become agents of his peace in a broken world. Practicing patience in conflict requires intentionality. It does not come naturally but must be cultivated through prayer, self-awareness, and reliance on the Holy Spirit. By pausing before responding, taking time to pray, and seeking God's guidance, we can respond with patience even in the most challenging situations. This practice strengthens our character and deepens our reliance on God. Patience transforms conflict into an opportunity for growth. Every disagreement is a chance to practice self-control, deepen our understanding of others, and demonstrate the love of Christ. By approaching conflict with patience, we shift the focus from winning to growing both personally and relationally. This perspective turns challenges into blessings and strengthens the bonds of community. The fruit of patience is lasting peace. While impatience may achieve temporary victories, it often leaves behind a trail of resentment and unresolved issues. Patience, however, builds a foundation of trust and mutual respect, creating peace that endures. This peace is not only external but also internal, as we find rest in the knowledge that we have acted with integrity and love. Finally, patience in conflict glorifies God. When we choose peace and understanding over anger or retaliation, we reflect His nature to those around us. Our actions become a testimony of His grace and mercy, drawing others to Him. By practicing patience, we fulfill His call to be peacemakers, bringing His kingdom into the relationships and circumstances of our daily lives. Purposeful speech begins with the recognition that words carry immense power. Scripture reminds us that life and death are in the power of the tongue. Each word we speak has the potential to build up or tear down, to inspire hope or sow despair. Purposeful speech requires intentionality, using this power not for harm but for good, becoming a channel for God's grace in every conversation. To uplift through speech is to see the potential in others and call it forth. When we speak words of encouragement, we remind others of their worth and capabilities. Uplifting speech has the power to reignite dreams, heal wounds, and restore confidence. It shifts the focus from limitations to possibilities, empowering others to see themselves as God sees them, precious, capable, and loved. Encouragement is a vital aspect of purposeful speech. In a world filled with criticism and negativity, a kind word can be like water to a parched soul. Encouraging others does not mean ignoring their struggles, but offering hope in the midst of them. It requires us to be attentive, listening deeply to understand their needs and speaking words that provide strength for the journey ahead. Truth is the foundation of purposeful speech. Words aligned with truth bring clarity and guidance. They cut through the noise of falsehood and confusion, offering a steady light in a dark world. Speaking truth requires courage, as it often challenges the status quo. Yet when spoken in love, truth has the power to transform hearts and minds, drawing people closer to God's will. Purposeful speech is also characterized by restraint. Not every thought needs to be voiced, and not every situation requires our input. Wisdom teaches us when to speak and when to remain silent. Purposeful speech values quality over quantity, ensuring that our words are meaningful and constructive rather than idle or harmful. Words aligned with truth reflect God's character. When we speak truthfully, we honor His nature as the God of truth. This alignment also protects us from the snare of deception, keeping our hearts pure and our relationships authentic. Purposeful speech rooted in truth fosters trust and integrity. both in our interactions with others and in our relationship with God. To uplift and encourage requires empathy. Purposeful speech begins by understanding the needs, fears, and hopes of those we address. Empathy allows us to tailor our words to bring comfort and strength. It ensures that our speech is not self-centered but directed toward the well-being of others, reflecting Christ's love in every interaction. Purposeful speech requires practice and self-awareness. It is easy to let careless words slip out in moments of frustration or distraction. By cultivating habits of mindfulness and prayer, we can train our tongues to speak words that edify rather than harm. This discipline not only blesses others but also transforms our character, making us more like Christ. The impact of purposeful speech is far-reaching. A single word of encouragement can change the trajectory of someone's day or even their life. Purposeful speech creates ripples of positivity, influencing not only the individuals we address but also the communities they are part of. It is a powerful tool for spreading love, hope, and faith. Purposeful speech is not limited to grand gestures or eloquent phrases. Sometimes the most profound impact comes from simple, heartfelt words: "I believe in you," "You are not alone," or "God loves you." These small acts of verbal kindness can have a lasting effect, reminding others of their value and God's presence in their lives. Aligning our speech with truth requires humility. It involves submitting our words to God's guidance, ensuring they align with His will and reflect His character. This alignment transforms our speech into a ministry, allowing us to be instruments of His grace and truth in the lives of others. Ultimately, purposeful speech glorifies God. When our words uplift, encourage, and align with truth, they become a testimony of His love and wisdom. Purposeful speech is not just about what we say, but about who we are, ambassadors of Christ, called to speak life into a world in need of His light. Contentment is a deep, peaceful state of being that arises when our hearts are aligned with God's will and provision. It is the quiet assurance that, though life may not be perfect, God is sufficient for every need. True contentment doesn't depend on circumstances, but rests in the knowledge that God, in His wisdom and love, has provided all we need. It is a posture of the soul that acknowledges the goodness of God, regardless of external conditions. To cultivate contentment, we must first master our desires. Desires are not inherently wrong, but when they become unruly or excessive, they can lead to dissatisfaction. The Apostle Paul in Philippians 4:11-13 speaks of learning to be content in every situation, whether in abundance or in need. Mastering desires is not about suppressing them entirely, but about surrendering them to God, allowing Him to shape them in accordance with His will. The key to contentment lies in understanding the difference between legitimate desires and selfish cravings. Legitimate desires, such as a desire for health, family, or purpose, are aligned with God's good creation. However, selfish cravings, those that arise from comparison, pride, or discontent, lead us down a path of constant striving and dissatisfaction. When we learn to differentiate between these, we can begin to experience the peace of contentment that flows from trusting God's provision. Dissatisfaction is a silent thief, robbing us of peace and joy. It whispers that what we have is not enough, convincing us that our fulfillment is found in what we don't yet have. The antidote to dissatisfaction is gratitude. Gratitude shifts our focus from what is lacking to what is present, cultivating an attitude of thankfulness. Gratitude turns our hearts toward God's goodness and faithfulness, reminding us of His provision and care in every moment. Fostering gratitude is a practice that must be cultivated daily. It is easy to focus on what is missing, on the things we wish were different, or the dreams yet to be fulfilled. But when we intentionally give thanks for the blessings we have, we begin to see life through a different lens. We see the beauty in small things, the kindness in others, and the grace of God that sustains us in all things. Gratitude opens our eyes to the goodness of God even in the midst of trial. Gratitude is not only a response to good circumstances, but a choice in every circumstance. We are called to give thanks in all things, 1 Thessalonians 5:18, whether in times of joy or sorrow. In choosing gratitude, we affirm that God's goodness is not determined by our circumstances, but by His nature. This perspective helps us grow in spiritual maturity as we learn to trust God's goodness even when things are difficult. A heart of gratitude also transforms how we view others. When we are thankful for what we have, we are less likely to fall into the trap of comparison. Comparison steals joy, leading us to believe that others have something better or that we are somehow lacking. Gratitude allows us to celebrate the blessings of others without resentment, freeing us from the bondage of envy. True contentment comes when we align our hearts with God's provision. This alignment begins with recognizing that everything we have is a gift from God, whether material or immaterial. Our families, our health, our talents, and our opportunities are all expressions of His love and grace. When we align our hearts with His provision, we find contentment, knowing that He has given us exactly what we need to fulfill His purpose for our lives. Aligning our hearts with God's provision also involves surrender. Contentment does not come through striving or manipulation. It comes through trusting God with every area of our lives. Surrendering our desires and expectations allows us to receive with open hands the good gifts He has prepared for us. Trusting in His timing and His wisdom, we can rest in the peace that He is working all things together for our good. Mastering desires involves reordering our priorities. In a culture that constantly urges us to seek more, the path to contentment requires us to choose less, to simplify, to say no to excess, and to embrace what is sufficient. This simplicity is not about deprivation, but about clarity. When we choose to focus on what matters most, we free ourselves from the clutter of unnecessary distractions. Gratitude changes our perspective on hardship. It is easy to give thanks when life is smooth, but it is in the trials that true gratitude shines. Gratitude in difficult times does not ignore pain, but acknowledges that God is still present, still working, and still good. This type of gratitude does not deny suffering, but finds hope even in the midst of it, trusting that God is using every circumstance for our growth and His glory. Contentment and gratitude foster peace in our relationships. When we are content with who we are and what we have, we stop looking to others for validation or approval. Instead, we can love others freely, without competition or comparison. Gratitude fills our hearts with love and joy, making us a blessing to those around us. A content and grateful heart creates an atmosphere of peace, allowing us to serve others with a spirit of humility and kindness. God's provision is always enough. Our culture tells us to constantly chase after more, but God assures us that He has already given us all we need. This truth, when fully embraced, frees us from the constant striving and discontentment that plagues so many. It reminds us that His grace is sufficient in every circumstance, and that our true fulfillment is found not in what we acquire, but in what we already have in Him. The practice of contentment and gratitude transforms us from the inside out. It shifts our focus from external circumstances to the inner peace that comes from trusting in God's provision. This transformation impacts every area of our lives, from our relationships to our work to our emotional well-being. When we master our desires and foster a heart of gratitude, we align ourselves with God's perfect will, finding peace, joy, and contentment in all things. In conclusion, contentment and gratitude are not fleeting emotions, but deep-seated attitudes that shape our lives. They require intentionality, practice, and trust in God's provision. As we master our desires, foster gratitude, and align our hearts with God's will, we become more like Christ, reflecting His peace and joy to the world. May we continually choose contentment, knowing that in doing so we experience the fullness of life that God has designed for us.